Hello my loves, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about eagle pose, Garudasana. We'll be talking about step by step how to do the pose, some modifications for the pose, some common errors, how to fix them, and some tips and tricks along the way. So as we think about eagle pose, there's a couple of ways that you can transition into the pose. You can come into the pose from your squat position, and we're going to do that first. So thinking about the feet connected to the floor here, sit back into your squat position. As you sit back into your squat position, shift the weight into your right leg, lift the left heel, lift the left leg, and can you send the left leg over and across your right? And then maybe rest the left toes down towards the floor. Maybe right now you have the hands to the heart. That is your eagle pose here. And as you think about that, notice if you can all wrap your left foot around your right calf. So you kind of twisty tie the legs together. Can the pelvis remain facing forward so your left hip draws back just a smidge, just a little, and then maybe the arms can join in. You can take your right arm over the left. Maybe you bring the back of the hands together. If that feels comfortable, maybe you can twisty tie the arms together. You come into your full eagle pose. Unwind the arms, and then lift the left foot and rise back up. So that was one way that you can come into eagle pose. You can do the other side. Sit back, settle the hips down, the chest lifted. Think about the position of your pelvis, and then send the right leg up and over the left. Maybe again, the right toes just rest to the outside of your left foot. Is your pelvis remaining back? Is your shoulders remaining square to the front here? And then maybe the right foot can come behind the left calf. Maybe you just rest the hands at the heart. Maybe you kind of twisty tie left arm on top and back of the hands are connected. Maybe the palms connect. So that is one way to come into your eagle pose. Now, my preferred method of coming into eagle pose is from standing balance. And in that way, you're going to come into it with both feet first on the floor, shift the weight into the right leg, lift your left leg. Now you can already notice if you've started to lift the left hip, if your shoulders have started to do some kind of shimmy thing here. As you notice that, notice your balance. How is your balance? And then can you take the left leg across the right leg? As you do that, think about the left hip drawing back. Think about your kind of pulling that left hip back so the pelvis remains squarish to the front of your mat. Shoulders remaining square to the front. And then can you sit into your eagle pose here? Is that available? And once you find that, think about wrapping your left foot around the calf of your right leg. Then the arms, right arm on top. Maybe it's the back of the hands. Maybe it's the full palm to palm. Whatever works for you. Now I like doing this method because I can immediately see if I have more balance on one leg, if I'm compensating more on one side. And I tend to do that because my left knee is much weaker than my right. My left leg is much weaker than my right. Now, what I do to compensate for this is I use blocks. Blocks are a great way to modify this pose, and they're perfect for coming into eagle pose from your standing balance. So take your feet hip distance apart and place blocks to either side of your feet here. Now I'm going to do the left side because I just did the right side. So think about standing here, send the weight into your left leg. As you send the weight into your left leg, lift the right, take the right foot up and over and place it onto your block. Now the height of your block is going to be entirely up to you. You might want to start on a high block and then gradually kind of move the block to a lower value. As you think about that, think about the pelvis, drawing the right hip back, shoulders, hips facing forward, and then sit into your legs. This is your eagle pose, and then you can play with the arm position. Now this is a great way to come into eagle pose because you have more support for the legs. It's less about balance and more about getting the kind of aspects of the pose, the foundation, the grounding sense into the pose. It's also great if you're dealing with an injury or any kind of body issues. And again, and then play with the height of your blocks. Maybe you felt that was too high, and then you come into it again. Take the foot over onto the block, and then sit into your eagle pose and play with the arms. This is a much more grounded and kind of centered way of coming into your eagle pose without having to think about falling over, without having to think as much about the little kind of niggles and movement of your legs. For me, my left knee is hypermobile and I tend to over lock it out, so it's just not very stable anymore. So for me, when I'm doing this pose, I tend to always use a block when I'm standing on my left leg. I am able to come into this, but it kind of destabilizes my knee and I end up with some knee issues for a few days. So for me, I know that about my body, so I will almost always use a block when I'm standing on my left leg. Know your body, be kind to your body. So that is one modification, is to use the blocks. Another modification, if you're really struggling with balance, that would be to use a chair. So that when you come into the pose, you can focus on the chair being your support here. Now, I can come into this here using the chair rather than the blocks because I have some balance and support. It's much more stable for my left knee when I have balance and support, and I'm not relying on my left leg to hold me in place because I will compensate by moving my body in weird ways. So you can use a chair for support. You can also use a wall or something, back of a sofa, for some support. Another thing that I want to mention about eagle pose is you don't have to do both together. This is eagle pose. I'm doing eagle pose arms. This is eagle pose. This is eagle pose. And if you really want to get down to basics, this is eagle pose. Coming into eagle pose on the floor on your back is a great way to come into the pose without having the balance, without having any of the gravitational issues to kind of tweak through joints. It's also a great way to warm up for the pose. Another great way to work through eagle pose is to come in from all fours. Take the left leg behind the right, nestle it down, and then sit a little bit back. Maybe the forearms come to the floor, and then can you lift your right toes on top of your left calf? It's kind of eagle pose like, especially for the legs. It gives them that sense of internal rotation, that internal value and adduction. Now, eagle pose is a challenging pose. You've got balance, you've got strength. There's also some risk versus reward that you need to evaluate in this pose. Because of the balance and strength, because of the possibility of binding the legs together, you can very easily injure yourself, and especially your knees. So as you think about your eagle pose, that foot comes up and over, you sit, and then you wrap the leg around. Now, it's very easy here to tweak that right knee inwards. And as the right knee travels inwards, the inside of your knee can become compromised. If you start feeling any pain on the inside of your knee, you need to come out of the pose. You need to kind of take a step back from the ego that wants you to stay there. Take the step back, use your blocks, use your chair. Find the strength in your legs first, before your ego takes over and collapses that knee inwards. This action of the knee is not that good for our bodies. So can you allow the leg to be strong, hold without the knee collapsing inwards of the ankle here? All right, my loves, I hope that helped give you some insight into eagle pose. There are so many things I could say about this pose, but that was just a few things, just a few basics for today. I hope you enjoyed it and got some value from it. If you did, give me a thumbs up. And remember, my loves, that karma is only a bitch if you are. So be nice, be kind, and be the change that you want to see in the world.